Good morning. Today is Veterans Day, day here in the United States that we observe, and it's on November 11th because on this day, World War I, the armistice was signed, and peace, they call that the Great War, the war to end all wars, and I just wish it were so. But it's a day today that we set aside to honor those who serve, remember their sacrifice, and do you thanks for those who are serving today as well. I thank all those who have served, and I think too of the families of those that are in the military right now. Today we look at Jeremiah chapter 50. It's a long chapter, and it deals with God's wrath against Babylon, and judgment that will come from God. And so as so many of the chapters of prophecy do, it says, the word that the Lord spoke concerning Babylon by the prophet Jeremiah. So it's, these are words given by God for the people of Babylon, that even though God has given Babylon the authority, the ability to come in and conquer the Assyrians, to drive them out, to capture the land of Judah and Israel. And Israel and Judah are both mentioned several times, reminding us that, Israel is a divided kingdom. They are not fully united. And there's this northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. But yet, both kingdoms, even though one had been faithful for longer than the other, both kingdoms had turned away from God and were worshiping idols and displeasing God immensely. And but it starts out, the first second and third verse are against Babylon, and it says a nation has come up against her, and he shall make that land a desolation. So not only is God using Babylon to make Israel and Judah a place of desolation and the place that the people flee, a place that people aren't safe, but God will do the same to this country of Babylon. And as I was looking at the king's name, I've been saying Nebuchadnezzar. Well, this is Nebuchadrezzar. There's an R in there, and so there, just like so many times, there are many different kings with the same name or similar names, but this, I don't know if I'd ever noticed that there's an R in there, because I was looking at it very carefully. A lot of times I just kind of gloss over those words that I don't want to try to pronounce. But anyway, the king of Babylon and Babylon itself would come under God's wrath and would see God's vengeance brought against them. Verse 4 and 5 is a promise and a hope for Israel in those days and at that time. The time that Babylon is destroyed, the people of Israel will come, they and the people of Judah together. See, there's Israel and Judah, this divided kingdom. But they will come together, weeping as they seek the Lord their God. They will turn their faces toward him and join themselves to him, it says, by an everlasting covenant that will not be forgotten. And we know that, they make a covenant, and God makes a promise, and God is true on his side of the promise, but people sin. But they come to God with remorse. They're remorseful. They realize the error of their ways, and they try to, they appeal to God's grace and mercy. And then in verse 6 again, it's God speaking. My people have been like lost sheep; their shepherds have led them astray. And how often do we remember reading in Kings and Chronicles about the king who didn't know God or didn't follow God's ways, and even in medieval times, and there's if the king of a land was a Christian, well then everybody was Christian, and if the king of the land was something else, then everybody was something else, and they were kind of more national churches and stuff that way, and And, there are still, called the Church of England and the Church of, different countries that way. But, the shepherds, the ones that are influencing the people and leading them, we're leading them astray. And it's, a reminder of the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. And, the Lord isn't going to steer us wrong. But anyway, God identifies his people as lost sheep. And we have Jesus referring to, I have come to seek the lost sheep, and stuff as well. But in verse 7, it's kind of the enemies of the people of Israel are saying, they say, we are not guilty because they have sinned against the Lord. Like the Assyrians and the Babylonians are saying, we're not guilty of doing wrong against these people because they sinned against God and God turned against them. So, how can we be guilty of sin? And, but if you're coming in and killing and plundering and whatever, is that exactly what you should be doing? Regardless. And then it's, the call for people, flee from Babylon, go out. And I'm going to stir up against and bring against Babylon. So God is saying through the prophet Jeremiah, again, it's a warning for the people of Israel, a challenge maybe. I don't know what to say exactly, but, it's a plea from him, for his people to, flee from these countries, from this, because they're going to be destroyed. And verses 18 through 20 especially, talks this. This is the God, I am going to punish the king of Babylon and his land as I punish the Assyrians. I will restore Israel to its pasture. And again, that promise of restoration. And then verses 21 through 27 again are against Babylon. And verse 24, the end of it, you were discovered and seized because you challenged the Lord. It's... it's just so many times that we see, people not doing what God would have them do. And the Lord has opened his armory and brought out the weapons of his wrath, and we don't want to face the wrath of God, and the imagery of the wrath of God is, horrible when you really think about it. I remember there's a sermon that's, you can find it online, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. And boy, the picture that pastor paints of God, it isn't pretty, when you're dealing with the wrath of God. And here the Israelites were dealing with the wrath of God. Why? Because they had sinned against him greatly. In verse 33, again, thus says the Lord of hosts, the people of Israel are oppressed, and so too are the people of Judah. Again, the divided kingdom. All their captors have held them fast, they refuse to let them go. Then verse 34, their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He will plead their cause, and he will give rest to the earth, but unrest to the inhabitants of Babylon. So again, words of promise for the Israelites, words of hope. It doesn't say it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but words of hope for the future, and unrest to the Babylons. It's a reminder that the people of Israel and Judah, they didn't have the warriors, they didn't have the people, they didn't have the means to fight against the Babylonians. They had, there was no point in them trying to do anything against their captors, but God would have that power. So when Israel and Judah were powerless, helpless, it was when God would show his power and his might and show the people that God was for them. And again, just, Israel has hope. Babylon has no hope. Babylon is going to be destroyed. But, it's just comical to me in some ways. Not laughingly funny, comical, but God uses other nations to subdue Israel, to put them into captivity, to drive them out of their lands. But yet in and through all of it, God's heart is with the Israelites. And it isn't just the Israelites, but God's heart is with each and every one of us. I mean, that's who He is. I mean, God is gracious and merciful, and wants us to have that hope and that belief and that trust in Him, that in and through all things He is with us. And I use, for myself, I think sometimes of the troubles of Israel and Judah, and how often they find themselves estranged from God, but God continually seeks them out and their welfare. And I think God does the same for you and me. Seeks us out and wants good things for us.